Hi guys, Dorothy here, professional astrologer. You can find me on the web at nhastrologer.com. And thank you for coming and listening to this today. I'm going to talk about 2019. I'm going to do a video forecast for each of the zodiac signs. But first, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 minutes of the year overview. Take notes. And then this will be the introduction. It's going to be in front of each one of the other videos that I create. So if you watch this introduction, you can skip it in the other videos if you end up watching more than one. All right. So let's get started. We have eclipses. Capricorn and Cancer. Cancer, Capricorn, oppositions, full moons, new moons, starting in January, ending in December. 5 eclipses this year. January 5th, January 21, see if I can remember, July 2nd, July 16, December 26. You could slow that down or hit pause and listen again. Those eclipses, mainly the Cancer Capricorn. So what this is doing, the eclipses, they change zodiac signs every 18 months or so. So these eclipses with the transiting lunar nodes, they're called, that's where eclipses happen. It is helping us and ushering us into a more authentic place in who we are. What we're focusing on is our home, security, our career. Do you feel like you're being true to yourself? That Cancer eclipses especially are helping us to tap into our emotions and how secure do I feel in my home? Do I feel secure? Can I come home and be vulnerable and emotional and comfortable and relaxed? Because home life, Cancer, and the public life, Capricorn, are two very different things, but they are tethered by an opposition. They are, when something happens on one end of the stick, it happens on the other end, right? Because there's always 2 ends to a stick, unless you make a circle, and that's all the 12 zodiac signs. But the opposition, Cancer, Capricorn, is ushering us into this area of being authentic in how we're presenting ourselves to the world. Now, a lot of people, it will create insecurities for some people, depending on how evolved or how in alignment with what's important for you. So this Cancer stuff can make us overly emotional, or it can help us tap into how we need to be more in tune with how we feel. Because life should feel good. Life shouldn't be difficult. Difficult things happen, yes, and we move through them. We always move through them. And that's where you tap into your emotions. And that's what this eclipse stuff is all about, in Cancer especially, helping us to get in touch with who you really are. And then the opposite energy of Capricorn is about being an authority at what it is that you do, feeling authentic, feeling like you're very validating how you feel. You can take control of things, which is great if you need to, but make sure you do it from an emotional place. How do I feel about this? Great, now I can take charge. All right, this is that Cancer Capricorn energy. It's super strong this year because of the eclipses. I mean, we have this energy every year, but it's powerful. So I'm going to, in the individual videos, I'm going to talk about it. You write all those keywords down that resonated with you, and then I'm going to talk about it in each house when it happens, okay? And so you'll get the zodiac energy of it a little more specific for you, okay? What else do I want to talk about? We also have Jupiter and Neptune squaring off this year, and it's a mutable square. Jupiter in Sag loves to experience life and to learn through diving in, full immersion. Squaring Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's been in Pisces for ages, so it's not a big deal, because it's just helping us to get into a more spiritual place for a lot of people, right? But Jupiter and Neptune in a mutable square, this is just enough tension, so it gives us motivation. Just enough, because squares aren't negative, like you'll read in some books, how they just villainize squares. But we need a little bit of tension to move us, especially with the mutable signs. So to me, this is a fantastic energy for the year. Now, the mutable square between Jupiter and Neptune will inspire us to be creative, to work on our intuition, work on our spiritual practices, things like that. And the square energy of that, and you can write this down too. Let me find my notes. Here it is. January 13th, June 16th, September 21. So those 3 times is when they're exact, but they'll be playing with each other almost all year long. So that means we all have an opportunity to really tap into intuition and our spiritual and creative abilities. All right. Helps us to smooth things out. Now, some people might take this and just dive off the deep end and go into their illusion and go into a place that, you know, that if we drink too much or get into drugs. So drugs and alcohol sometimes can really, people can go off a deep end with that too. But the Capricorn, especially the Capricorn eclipses and the energy there, it definitely helps to anchor us in a little bit more, because we also have Saturn sextile Neptune this year. And with Saturn sextile Neptune, that's a fantastic anchor. I like that it's there. We actually need it because it's going to help to ground us in whatever it is we're going. So most of us don't go off a deep end into, you know, la la land. But hey, if you feel like diving in once in a while into music, I hear La La Land and I think music. You go into music, go into meditation, trust your intuition, get into painting, get into photography, whatever it is. These are the beautiful creative things we can do with Saturn sextile Neptune and the Jupiter squaring Neptune. All right, and I'll give you some more specifics in just a minute. Don't go away. I'll be right back. All right, Pisces, this is for you. Let's get started. We have new moon solar eclipse on January 5th. This is the day I've been telling everybody, this is the day that we set our new moon resolutions and we set our new year resolutions as well. For you, this eclipse is focused in at the 11th house, and that 11th house is groups and associations and really big things that you can get your heart behind, things that have a lot of meaning to you. And so when we have, it's the focus for the whole year on these eclipses and where Pluto is, where Saturn is, where Jupiter will be, all of those things. I'm going to fill you in on all of that. So focus in on or set new goals based on what it is that you want to accomplish in regards to those associations and those group endeavors that have meaning to you. All right? That's the first piece. We also have, and that's just the beginning, new moons, eclipses, setting goals based on what's important for you. All right? I'm going to repeat it because we got a lot to talk about in here, and it all comes full circle between January and December. So make sure you take some notes. I just tell Pisces that. I tell all the water signs that. So let's move on. Jupiter squares Neptune, and that is January 13, June 16, and September 21. And like I said in the intro, what this has to do with is being creative and artistic, trusting your intuition. You're a Pisces. You should really trust your intuition anyways, but not everybody does, because lots of times when we're Pisces and we're super sensitive and we're little kids, our parents shut us down. And it's nothing negative against them. They just don't know. They don't know. But you have an opportunity to open that back up again if you choose. So when we have Jupiter and Neptune squaring off on those dates, that comes from the 10th house of your career over to the 1st house. So that shows me right off the bat that there is something that you're doing at work, that Jupiter in Sagittarius in that 10th house of my public image and my career, and where I'm either a teacher or it's great for me to be learning. Something's expanding for you in your career. With Neptune where it's at, it's asking you to really tap into that creative piece, Neptune and Pisces. So try your best to trust how you're feeling and, excuse me, following the path of least resistance. All right, that's so important, because what we have adding with this, and it's really helpful, is that simultaneously while Jupiter squares Neptune, Saturn sextiles it. And, you know, for the Saturn thing, it's January, June, and November. And we really need this because it's like a tether. It holds things in place. So you have a lot of things that with the Capricorn stuff going on where it is, breaking things down so you can rebuild it. Saturn's in there too. And it will help us to keep a little bit of the reins on what it is that we're trying to go out into the world and expand into. If that makes sense. It's like, just don't let go of the balloon string and it won't go all over the place. But you can hang on to the balloon and give it as much string as you want, or a kite, whatever. And you see what I'm saying? That's the Saturn, that's the Capricorn eclipses that are happening. They're keeping us a little tethered, which is good, because then we can still go out into the world and do the things that we want to do. All right. Moving on to the January 21st eclipse. Now, this is a full moon. It's a lunar eclipse and it's a super moon. So it's a big one. It's in the sign of Leo. Let me get that chart up. I had these charts in the wrong order. There it is. It's over there in your 6th house. And that 6th house has everything to do with work. All right. Your everyday work, your co-workers, and even your health and wellness. So when we have a full moon in that area, it is saying we actually had 2017, 2018, a lot of eclipses in that area. You had quite a few. So whatever was going on last year as far as work, not what you're known for in your career, but your work, your everyday patterns, your everyday routine, health and wellness, whatever was going on, this full moon is the final showdown for it. So it shows you what it is you did or didn't do that you still may need to do. All right. Whatever that is, because I can't tell you specifically because I don't actually have your chart in front of me, because I can hear you. Like, what does that mean? It means pay attention to what was going on last year, because that eclipse in January has everything, is the final piece of the puzzle, so you can see what it is you need to do. But I want to move on to March 6th, when Uranus enters Taurus. And where is he when he enters Taurus? There he is. He moves into your 3rd house. And when Uranus moved in there back in May, he moved into Taurus May 17th. So May, June, July, then he retrograded back to Aries. And now he's moving forward and gets into Taurus on March 6th. When he moves into that sector, into the sector of your siblings, your neighborhood, how you communicate. This is an opportunity, because Uranus breaks boundaries. Uranus and Taurus breaks boundaries. And so it's pushing us to change. All right. And it feels a little uncomfortable at first, but something is changing in the way that you're communicating. Helps us to break old patterns so we can get out of our ruts. So it is moving into your 3rd house of those things I just said: communicating, siblings, cousins, your neighborhood, where you live, how involved you are in that. If there are things going on in your neighborhood that you don't like, you might actually just, be somebody who picks up that picket sign and goes and stands in front of City Hall and tell them what you think. There is an opportunity for that. You don't have to, but that piece is there, all right? Yes, it is. And so now I want to move on to, we have Mercury retrogrades. I want to just briefly cover that. 3 a year. We always have 3 a year. This year they're in water element, which is your element. So, and in March, it'll be retrograde in your sign in Pisces. So what that represents, and I'm going to get into that in my weekly forecast, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel to get the weekly updates. But it just helps to engage us more in how we're feeling and trying and doing our best to go with the flow so we don't feel so rigid this year. But you can get more of that if you subscribe to the channel, and you'll get the weekly forecast. Now, I want to go back to Jupiter in your 10th house, because he does go retrograde April 10th to August 11th. And when he's retrograde in that area, if things at work, like you've been getting more and more responsibilities, when he retrogrades April 10 to August 11, things will go back down again. So it's like blowing up a balloon. I'm talking about balloons a lot, aren't I? When you're blowing up a balloon, you can only blow it up so far. Eventually, you have to like tie it off or stop, otherwise it's going to blow. So Jupiter always moves forward, goes back, moves forward again. So April to August, you have a chance to really see what expanded from November 2018 to April 10th, 2019. What was expanding that you didn't want to, and you can kind of slow that down and what was expanding that you want to continue to do, and you can make plans during its retrograde period. So make sure you just do everything with authenticity and integrity. And those are the most important things that we have to do with Jupiter retrograde. Then I also want to talk about Saturn a little bit more in your 11th house retrograde, April 29 to September 17. And so here, this is where we're restructuring. If we're part of a group, again, the beginning of this eclipse report and this 2019 report was the eclipse in Capricorn. And there are more coming in just a little bit. So we are focusing in on how these groups are important to me, to you. What do I want to build with them? How do I want to build my reputation in and amongst these groups that I have interest in? So that retrograde of Saturn will definitely help us with that, all right? So take these opportunities and use them. That's what they're for. Now, let's move on to the next batch of eclipses for July. July 10, new moon solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Cancer. And let me see where that is in your chart. That's down in the 5th house, and that 5th house is the area of the chart. Just what am I passionate about? What am I creative? Where am I creative? What am I creating? So even if you have, especially if you have children, your children will be a focus this year, starting in July, all right? So that new moon eclipse in the 5th house is all about setting goals related to those things. Family, if you have them, children, if you have them, and your creative things and the things that you're passionate about, all right? I like these new moons, and especially when they're eclipses, because we can set goals, what it is that really has a lot of meaning to us. Write stuff down, just put it in a little booklet and put it aside. The full moons, on the other hand, are a culmination of what we've been doing over the last 2 weeks or the last 6 months. And here's that one, which is about the last 6 months. July 16th, full moon solar eclipse, 24 Capricorn. And that one, let me pull that chart up so I can visualize it. That one as well is up there in the 11th house of those group endeavors, those things that, associations that are really important to you. Groups, friends, associations. That full moon will now show you what it was that you, when you set goals January 5th, what it is that, did it solidify or didn't it? Or what did solidify, it shows you where you can continue on, and what didn't, it also illuminates that area so we can see what we need to let go of. So it's a time period where we can build more or let go. And that eclipse is also with Pluto. So that creates a very deep and intense connection, because 6 months from this date, we'll have a pile up in January with a whole bunch of other people, a whole bunch of other planets, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, when all of that comes together near where this eclipse is. So this eclipse is important to pay attention to. I'll give a lot more information again in the weekly forecast. And then one other thing about Jupiter. Here's another thing. December 2nd, it actually moves out of Sagittarius and into Capricorn. When it moves into Capricorn, there it is. Look at that. It's with all the other Capricorn stuff that's been going on. Sun, eclipses, Saturn, Pluto, all of this is coming into your 11th house. Again, this is why group and public associations are so important for you this year. When Jupiter gets into that area, December 2nd, it is going to inflate everything, even more than that July 16th eclipse. So really pay attention to that July 16th eclipse. It will tell you what you can keep and what you shouldn't keep. Because when Jupiter gets in there, it's going to expand everything. So you're going to need room for that. It's Jupiter, traditional values and things such as that. But it's, you know, stepping up in your profession, if you will, because it's Capricorn, but stepping up as leader of a group, whatever that looks like for you. I know Pisces isn't so great about interested in being leaders, but you are in your own way, and it's fantastic. You guys don't really know boundaries, and when we have all this Capricorn stuff that's, you know, saying boundaries, 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 it makes it hard to be as authentic. So do the best you can with this Capricorn energy that's really trying to contain you. You do the best you can. I know you will. And the final eclipse we have on December 26th is at 4 degrees of Capricorn. So here's another. We start the year with a new moon in Capricorn, and we end the year with a new moon eclipse, both eclipses in Capricorn, with a full moon eclipse in Capricorn in the middle. So this is focus, focus, focus on how you're building your foundation, how you're building your reputation, how you're working in groups, and what is important in those groups. So if you are a Pisces, and all of this is going on in your 11th house, it may be time to run a group or step up and become an officer in a group. All right, we got a lot going on here. That's the best I can do for you guys right now. But, you know, don't forget, you can call me and get your year ahead and order your own forecast. And that way we'll get very, very specific. But what I've just said is very valid for you. So play it over again. Take notes at what seems important for you to remember. Put it in your calendar, man. That'd be the best way to do it. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you very much. Blessings. Namaste.